Yeah. So we can just have our beers and then sign off. There. We are, well, I did say 9 and it's 10 past, but I did set it for 10 past. Oh, no, there's 5 people watching. Yo, with Adam, cheers. Let us know if you can hear everything okay.
What is this beer? It's not Corona, is it? It's something.
No,
it's a Corona derivative or something.
Yeah, I think it's what people that drink Corona piss.
Beer extra, share with friends.
This
is really shit beer.
It's terrible. I don't know if it's even alcoholic, actually. It's...
Share with friends. So who writes share with friends?
It's contagious.
In a beer bottle. This is pure desperation, isn't it? It's like that that Volkswagen Up. You know that car?
Yeah.
It's Up with an exclamation mark. Oh. That's the name of the car. They had to put an exclamation mark on the end of the name of the car to try and make it more appealing.
I don't know what he's complaining about. This is obviously the finest, probably non-alcoholic Mexican piss that I've ever digested. What's the... Does it even tell you how many degrees there's?
4.5.
Oh, it's tragic.
Absolutely shocking.
Well, anyway, Adam came to visit, and we've been emailing for quite a long time, a couple of years at least, I think.
Yeah. Also talking.
Yeah, and he's a hardcore sedevacantist, a much better one than I am, because he does his rosary regularly, goes to mass far more regularly than I do, and he's either gonna be a monk, and I'm trying to convince him to get married and have 5 kids, because he's much younger than I am. You can tell. He's only like 51, so he's got all the time to produce 5 kids. Preferably with one woman that he marries. There's TVC, hello, and Pragmatic Troll. Or just decent. Oh, thank you. See, it's good to have a pragmatic troll.
Yes, it's nice. Yeah, 5 kids. How many of your kids have you got in the house right now? 3.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
At this particular moment, but yeah, usually it's
yeah.
Well, it's going to be 5 in December. So.
Well, 5 kids sounds great, really.
Yeah, I was always kind of set on 4, but there you go. You have to keep the line going. Okay. So it's a free stream. So if you want to ask random questions, we got 11, like the original apostles, less the traitor.
Awesome.
Good show.
Awesome. We should just keep it at that. Just keep it at that.
Ban anybody else now.
Just keep it at that, and then we're good.
We don't do the cult thing.
Yeah.
Only ban you for blasphemy and if you're hardcore gamer.
As Jesus shows up. So I've come down and helped you out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I did.
We built a. What did we build today?
I'm actually surprised he's owning up to having helped me build this thing, because it's a wood shed. So I gotta, for winter I'm busy cutting the wood, and it's gotta be in a place that doesn't get rained on and wet. And I haven't really had a place like that. We've just been storing it on the veranda and stuff, so it's been a bit hectic last winter. So I thought, no, this year I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm gonna do a proper wood shed that the wood can dry. It'll be raised off the ground so it doesn't get wet. And we built this. Adam suggested several times that I use a level, which I didn't need. However, I could have used a plumb line, because the poles that are holding it up, instead of being sort of vertical, there's one that's kind of like that. But it's working. It's only half built, because I want to build a really quite big one to carry all the wood for the winter, so I don't have to keep loading.
It's not the prettiest woodshed, really, is it?
No, it's not. But it's coming off one of the little chalets, and it'll work.
Which I slept in with the spiders, and I'm Australian, so I don't really, things like spiders and that sort of thing, don't really. But these were some big motherfucking spiders you had, and they were above the bed head. And at one point last night, I actually felt that one had jumped on my face, so that was a bit of a moment. But anyway, I survived, and it's a great place, man. It's a beautiful little spot. I mean, the place is enormous, we tried to get to the bottom of it yesterday, and it ended up like jungle warfare, more or less, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
Trying to get through it all. And he got some amazing olive trees. And it's a really cool little part of the world. So we went up to the village this morning, or lunchtime.
I don't really say the name. Of the
I'm not
place,
going to say where it is. Yeah, we went up to the village and had a walk. I can't remember. And we had a walk around, and gorgeous little town, really atmospheric. And then we had jumped online and had a look at the price of real estate. And yeah, it's not that much.
You're basically moving to Italy, aren't you?
I'm in Italy now.
Yeah.
Moved. Yeah, but I'm up in. Right. I'm up.
Yeah, he's up further north.
I'm in the mountains, and that's not a secret. My guys know that I'm up in the Alps.
Yeah.
So that's because that's where I've always been, in a great spot. So moving into my new place next week.
Oh, Luke is here. Luke was the top supporter of my gasifier project, which I've just told him about. He's like, "You're what?" A gasifier? Like, what the hell is that? But Luke was a dude that he's the top supporter of the thing, and I've just sent him out the little graviter things I was telling you about.
Oh, it's just this thing here.
So, those the badges. No, I sent him out the document about this thing. Remember, I was telling you.
Badges.
Yeah, I was telling you about this little gravity shifty.
You were trying to explain it to me.
Yeah, he's more like an art guy, so it's like graffiti on walls and shit. He doesn't like do the engineering bits.
The engineering bits doesn't really.
But Luke says aluminium and acrylic graviter cells coming along nicely, and avoiding the temptation to buy $5,000 worth of equipment to cut it all myself. Yes, now you understand why I had that stretch goal number 4, which we didn't hit. It's not the easiest thing to do to test the stuff. If you get it right, if you knew exactly the things to put together, it would be probably not that difficult. But you don't know the exact dimensions. You have to test it in very controlled circumstances. So you do need quite either to be very ingenious or figure out a way to do it that works. Pragmatic Troll says, when an Aussie is complaining about the size of your spiders, it's time to move.
And it was probably about that big, and it was one of those spiders that kind of has, the look about it, which is don't mess with me.
Yeah, it's got all the mimetic sort of.
Yeah, hairy
tiger stripes.
Yeah. He was wielding a flamethrower. And then afterwards I went to the bathroom, and there was another big one in there as well. But here's the scary thing: this morning they're both gone, so I don't know where they are. And I actually preferred knowing where they were. And I was actually thinking last night, why didn't I just get a glass jar, put it on the spider, and then you put the lid on, then you take it outside and you set it free. Why didn't I do that? No, I'll just go to bed with a giant spider above my bed head, literally above my bed head.
Yeah. Was.
Just,
he was quite nice about it, I think, because my wife was there.
I was trying to be brave.
Yeah, she was.
Your wife was.
She was like, "No, don't kill it. I don't kill the spiders." And he was like, "Oh no, I never would. I'll just move it a little bit to the side of my pillow." Yeah.
And it was cold in that.
Yeah, it is. It's got cold in the last 2 days, really.
But it was a nice warm bed, but I had my nose sticking out, so that's a bit much. But
there's a heater there. You don't have to suffer.
No, with electricity bills, what they are now, and those electric heaters, man, they chew up the energy.
Yeah, I know, but it's only a couple of.
And I was in Germany last week. I was in Munich, and benzene is over $2.50 a litre there.
Oh.
And it's 160 when you get back across the border here. 160, 150. Yeah. So Germany's screwed. Germany's in real shit.
They decided they wanted to shut down the nuclear reactors, and they don't have gas because Russia's just said, "Well, you want the sanctions? Oh, we'll turn off the tap." And Nord Stream 2 is blocked because of German non-compliance.
No, that's Nord Stream 1. Nord Stream 1 is blocked.
No, it's blocked by the Russians. But Nord Stream 2 is blocked by certification, which the Germans
that's the Americans. The Americans don't want the Germans to open Nord Stream 2. It's a huge political thing.
Correct.
And that was Trump as well, by the way. That was not just Biden. That was Trump as well.
Well,
so because I was working on Nord Stream 2.
Once you're
On the-
American,
the
yeah.
building.
Oh, he's an oil and gas guy. I'm a building guy. So
So I can definitely say that it's the Americans that shut that one down, and they've been doing it the whole time. Because basically, Europe would have
but
been...
it is through Germany. But I know it's the Americans telling them
So,
you're
all
going to
right.
do this.
Yeah,
but-
it comes to the Nord. So Nord Stream 1 goes through the Ukraine,
Yeah.
right? And the Ukraine got fees from the
Yes.
gas passing over its territory, and that was basically the money that was keeping Ukraine afloat
Yeah.
before the special operation started. Yeah, Nord Stream 2 goes down through the Baltic Sea,
Yeah.
straight to Germany, and there's no
Yeah.
payment on the way.
Yeah.
And Americans didn't want that because the Americans control Ukraine.
Well,
And-
that's where they get all their money washed.
They got the money washed.
So-
Exactly. And Europe would have been energy independent with 2 coming down because it was the pipes. It's a bigger pipe. There's much more.
Well, to
capacity.
be thinking about it, like that German comedian in England said, they said, well, you guys lost the First and the Second World War. And the German guy straight away said, well, third time lucky. I don't know that you want the Germans to be like super powerful and have all the best economy in Europe. And you just can't trust those guys. I mean, Martin Luther, Adolf, I don't know how much of a bad guy he was, but
Was Adolf really that bad?
I don't
Really?
know. I'm reading.
I just
I'm
think
reading
he was,
backwards on
I
that.
think he was misunderstood.
That's what my brother said years ago, and I was like,
Misunderstood.
"No, it's just because it was a tourist like you."
Yeah.
It's like, no, but I'm definitely reading.
I think he meant well. I think he meant well, and it just got a little out of hand. And he picked the wrong guys around him. It really wasn't Adolf's fault.
That is almost word for word what my brother said 30 years ago, and I was like, "That's just because he's got this birthday close to yours."
Yeah. Poor Adolf. Yeah.
Caleb says, "Eight-legged flamethrower, awesome name for a metal band."
Yeah, it's good enough.
Metal is not music. Now we've got a musician type guy here, so
Yeah, I'm a musician type.
metal is not music, right?
Ooh.
Neither is rap.
No, rap's definitely not music at all.
Good.
And what comes
Metal
out.
is the white noise. That's what I call it.
Listen, I think that actually some of the Scandinavian metal is, if you actually look at what they're doing, is almost comparable to classical music. Wait, hear me out.
Stab him in the neck.
But if you look at it on a pure theory base on the music itself, yeah? If you look at the feeling that the music gives you,
yes,
yeah, especially when they
noise.
start singing.
yes,
It's like Iron Maiden. Some of their stuff, Iron Maiden, the instrumental stuff, I'd be hearing it. There's like the intro to Seventh Son of the Seventh Son album, and the intro coming in is great. And it's just like, oh, this is really, really good, really great music, great instrumental, and then I can't listen to that. So I think a Rammstein.
He nearly blasted. Yeah, okay, I know about
Rammstein's
Rammstein,
playing
but yeah.
in Paderborn like next year, and all the guys in the village room have already bought their tickets. And I'm like,
No,
€300 a ticket.
yeah, fuck that. I want to give them 30 cents. No, fuck that.
€300.
No ways.
So we put an album on before because you've got a turntable. So we put, what did we put on? Some was it?
I forget now.
was
You
it Chopin?
picked it.
Was it Chopin?
No, it wasn't Chopin.
It wasn't Bach. It was I can't remember. It wasn't
Maybe
Beethoven.
Schubert. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
Might still be going.
he's got a Bruce Springsteen album.
I do. Born in the USA. That's the one I have. Because that was kind of cool music that I heard when I was about 16. That's why I bought that one.
Okay.
And the ones that I actually used to listen quite a lot when I was like before my 20s was Eurythmics. But I've always been eclectic with music. I listen to just about anything.
Except
Chopin,
for,
I used
for
to
rap.
Fuck rap. Rap is not music. It's just, you got black noise, you got white noise, you got rap, you got metal. That's it. That's the way I see it. It's just, that's not
Because
music.
jazz and blues is great, and that's black music.
Yeah, I like
Jazz
that.
is great.
Yeah, no, I like
love
jazz. I like some blues.
Funk.
I
that
like,
sort of stuff,
I
but
like
rap.
country music too. People like laugh at that, but I
Yeah.
like country and western stuff.
Okay.
Johnny Cash or Elvis.
It's not-
I quite
Elvis is
like-
not really country.
No, it's not. Some is edging on it, but
Okay.
I quite like Elvis stuff actually. I've got like a couple of his CDs and whatever.
So
No. No.
Out. Little rat bag. And you knew it.
The little Viking has taken to Adam. You know, at first he was shy. I told him for the first 5 minutes, and I said, "Well, when he starts hitting you and punching you and slapping you, then you know you're buddies."
I really enjoyed that 5 minutes of being shy. That was great. That's great. They're gonna be at the door now, bothering us. Did you want to have like an extra deep conversation on
We can do.
Catholicism? Or,
Well, let's see how many people are actually listening to our bullshit. 12. We got the imposter apostle now. So yeah, you know, if you guys have questions, as always, just shoot them in the chat, and I'll read it as we go. If metal is white noise, rap is black noise. Oh, I just said that, TVC. I told you. You know that. Caleb goes, I'll send you a link to a Scandinavian metal musician that I think even the Kurgan could appreciate. I think you're sadly mistaken, sir. But we'll see.
Bluegrass is the most superior art form.
What's bluegrass? Bluegrass
is a type of, it's like a deep south kaleidoscope sort of, think, you know, Louisiana.
So is that, so like one of my favorite songs is actually one of the only songs I know of by heart is Wayfaring Stranger by, I always forget if they're called 12 horsepower or something to do with horsepower, and it's like a really redneck looking dude on a banjo, and it's awesome. I think I might have it on my phone, but actually
I've been over the last 2 months really trying really hard not to buy a really expensive Fender Stratocaster guitar that I found in a shop here. It's a Fender custom shop Strat 58 rebuild, which is just the best guitar I've ever played in my life. In my life.
And how much did that want?
€4,500.
Whoa, fucking.
But I've never. Here's the thing. So I've been playing guitar since I was 12 years old. I'm 51, and I've never owned a guitar. I once had 6 guitars at one time. I've got 3 now here. I got 1 back in Australia. But I've never owned a guitar that cost me more than $800. I've never owned a good level guitar, you know. And I was thinking,
my knowledge of music is zilch, but I've got my saxophone there, which I'm sure you've heard me play a few times, and you know, I'm obviously very good because Fleur East devoted a whole song to me, you know.
Really?
Yeah, sax. Have you heard that song? He doesn't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the running joke. And some guys on here actually sent me clips of the Space Marine from Warhammer that's got a saxophone. It's like 1 hour of a Space Marine doing that while shooting is going on. It says, "Oh, this is like your song." This is quite funny, really.
I've just been corrected that Bluesgrass is from Kentucky, not from East South. So sorry about that. I knew it was somewhere in that area. I didn't know. I'm not American.
Woolly Ram says, "Good evening, Kurgan." Oh, hello, Woolly Ram. He's a good dude. Jay Blackmore says, "Jebediah Lovemore's musical taste must be rubbing off on you, Kirk." I don't know if you know, but I have the streams where occasionally with another guy who's a Southern American guy, and I put on the cowboy hat, and then my name is Jebediah Lovemore, and we speak with a very Southern accent.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
It's funny. And yes, yeah, I do. I like redneck music, and I kind of like rednecks, really.
I spent 4 months in Louisiana in 2019, and I had a great time.
No, they're cool people. They're
great people.
Pretty much, most of the Americans I like are probably rednecks, I would say.
Yeah, and I was really hanging out with serious Louisiana dudes because I was in Homer for most of the time, and we went out fishing off the coast. This guy's boat, which was amazing, red snapper, pulling them up from 20 meters down, right next to a working oil platform, because there's no exclusion zones in the US. And the guys working on the platform were coming down and telling us, no, do it here, blah blah blah, like the flares going off above our head. And we went shooting a bunch of times, and then we did a tour on an airboat from this guy who's a star of one of these American real life shows things
Oh, right. Okay.
about the swamp people dudes.
Okay. Just what people do.
And he took us on the airboat. This guy was like probably about my age, but he was just knotted, my size as well, but just knotted with muscle, like the veins coming down. Nicest guy. And I looked him. I had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
Ended up giving us his phone number and all that sort of stuff. And looked him up afterwards, and quite a well-known guy. This I think it's called Swamp People.
Okay.
This
sounds cool.
This documentary program thing, and they follow these guys around. I'd never heard of it either, and I don't know if any of your American visitors know about it. But that was awesome. The food was great because it was crawfish season.
Yeah.
While I was down there,
that's
so
yeah.
Big crawfish boils,
Yeah.
And New Orleans. I had a great time in New Orleans.
I've never been, but yeah.
And I just read last week that it's the #1 murder capital of America now.
Yeah, that's what's nice, right?
Well,
just do what you want. Draw and fire. You got good reflexes. You don't need anything else.
But man, I wandered around French Quarter, like pretty drunk, and it was after midnight, and there was 3 of us, and didn't have a single issue, and never felt like there was a problem.
Well, sometimes when you get like 3 random drunk dudes walking through the worst parts of town, the other people are thinking, well, they must belong here.
Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah.
I walked through Paris once it's actually when I first time I met Vox in person, 2014 or something, I don't remember. It was in Paris, and I just booked a random hotel that was close to the area without looking, I didn't care, whatever. And it was a random hotel that, probably 30 years ago was part of Paris, and now it's part of Algeria, I think, or possibly the Congo. And it was like, oh yeah. But I lived in Africa for like 30 years, so these like guys that were that lived there, clearly those mattresses on the main sidewalk and stuff. They looked at me like, and in French they were like, "Are you French?" I'm like, "Nah, man, just let me be." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's crazy white person, like what's he doing here," sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting.
I've noticed the pins in your map. I'm assuming these are all the places you've been to.
Yeah, so the silver pins is where I was on my own. The pink gold pins are where my wife was by herself, and the gold ones is where we've been together.
What's the one in the Atlantic Ocean there off the US coast? What the hell's that?
That's the Bermuda Islands.
So you've been to the Bermuda Island?
No, she has.
Oh, she has? What the hell was she doing out there?
Oh, that's a long story that I'm not going to talk about here.
And you've been to Moscow?
I've been to Moscow.
So
Japan.
I haven't been to Japan, but I've never been to Russia. So
it's good. I've been to Moscow a couple of times.
Probably won't get the chance now that World War III is about to break out.
The Russians won't mind.
Was it the 24th that it's all supposed to go down? What's the date?
Oh yeah. The 24th of September.
Today's the 22nd.
Apparently, the 24th of September is supposed to be Doomsday.
Yeah.
Was it the German Chancellor or somebody, German politician in the EU Parliament, saying, the 24th of September is going to be one of those days that in the future everybody will know where they were on that day, and what they were doing when it happens. So I don't know if Germany has got a false flag and nuke going off, or I don't know what's going on. But the reason people are saying also that, and I've read a few things, they've got some firefighters apparently in the States have issued these little bulletins where they're looking for like crisis actors for a mass exercise on the 24th of September, because 24 is 2 + 4 is 6, 9th of September is like an upside down 6, and 2022 2 + 2 + 2 is 6, so it's like 666. So that's why they're saying they're going to do that.
Okay, that's reaching. All right, but
that's what I read, man. I don't know.
Okay, it's numerology. I'm wondering if it's a financial meltdown date.
Probably.
Well,
Bergoglio did say he wanted all the churches' money from everywhere around the world by the 30th of September back into the Vatican Bank.
Because the markets the markets have been pretty crap for the last 6 months, but the markets the last couple of days are really, really
bad. Yeah,
just
weird.
Not bad,
weird,
really weird, and everything's doing really strange stuff. Everything's weird too. The currencies are weird. Crypto's weird at the moment. Bonds are weird. The whole thing looks really, really strange, and the stock market's doing crazy things. It looks like they want to pump it
Yeah.
up,
So
and then they're just going to drop it, and
Yeah.
so they're going to make a lot of money because they're putting puts on that, which is they're saying that it's going to drop, and you can make huge amounts of money at that time if you've got insider knowledge like this.
You can, but I think if the crash is big enough, it's like The Big Short. I don't know if you saw the film, but I read the book as well.
Yeah, I saw the film.
And when it becomes that big, they're just sort of like, yeah, we're not going to actually pay you because there's no one to deal with those contracts. So I don't know. I got into the stock market when I was like 19, and then I was like, this is a Ponzi scheme. I'm getting out of this. This is all going to collapse in the next couple of years. And then it went on and on and on, and then it only collapsed in 2008. And I was like, why did I misunderstand that? And it's like, oh, it's because everybody, including the people that know it's a Ponzi scheme, keep playing in it. And so that makes it last a lot longer than it should. But I only much later read Michael Lewis's Liar's Poker. He's the guy who wrote The Big Short, the book, and whatever. He's written like 4 books on financial stuff. And I related a lot because in Liar's Poker, he had got into the financial world and he realized this is just like, scum, basically.
Fraud.
So he got out and became a journalist of financial, stuff.
Yeah.
And Liar's Poker was a very good book because it was around the same time that I thought, fuck this, these guys are just cowboys. So I related to what he was talking about, but and then he wrote about the trades done.
Yeah.
So there were people offering farmers like hundreds of thousands.
And they've all been thrown?
No, it comes back. Yeah, there's a bit of choppiness. And I got to scroll back down. I think that was when I was talking about Paris. Wooly Ram says, modern fiat stops having value when the Joe normal loses. Because everybody agrees that it's worth X, then that's what
Listen, I think if I think it's a pretty astute move at the moment to pick up a little bit of silver in ounces, whatever you can afford. If you can afford $200 or $300 of it, pick it up.
Yeah, I've done that like a few years ago. So
Yeah.
I got a bit of silver, I got a little bit of gold.
And it's insurance. It's not an
Yeah.
investment.
No,
It's insurance. People think that gold and silver are an investment, but they're not. It's
Although-
pure insurance.
like I always say, silver and gold is good, but if it gets really bad, what you want is copper jacketed lead, a lot of it.
And cigarettes and whiskey.
Yeah, but still, copper jacketed lead
Yeah.
beats everything.
No, I'm not saying don't have that. So if you look at when the Weimar Republic went down in the 20s, and if you look at Germany post World War II and Austria post World War II, like the year or so, the 18 months at the end of the war, currency was basically cigarettes and whiskey and hard liquor for that time,
And coffee, weirdly enough.
Coffee as well. Yeah, absolutely. Coffee. I've said that before on a podcast. I think I was doing a stream with someone, and I was with Aaron Clary, Captain Capitalism, and we were talking about this.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, how much do people really need coffee?
Yeah. You want to know the funny thing? You know the Ersatz coffee that the Germans basically invented because there was no coffee?
Yeah.
I actually like that stuff. I've got it downstairs.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, you're a barbarian.
Yeah. Look, you're an Australian. You haven't even finished your beer. I'm beating
can't.
you.
It's shit. It's undrinkable. It's like making love in a canoe. It's fucking close to water. It's terrible. But no, I saw that coffee this morning when I was desperately trying to
find the real coffee.
and your lovely 10-year-old daughter was completely useless. She kept bringing me out. I went, no, sweetie, that's tea. and even worse, it's decaf tea, which your wife just made me drink.
Yeah, she fooled him. Would you like a tea? And he was like, oh yeah, that'd be lovely. It happened, and she gave him decaf tea, which was like, this is not bad. What tea is this? And like, kind of like feeding pork to a Muslim, I guess. But that's what we do around here.
Shocking. Who else has got tobacco, spices, chocolate, OTC medication over the counter? Yeah. So I think antibiotics also would be pretty up there.
People with allergies or toothache will kill for a few antihistamines or an aspirin.
Yeah.
True. Toothache is a bastard because that's like literally pliers in the.
Piece saying, yeah, if I could just go, I'll just go do that. I think it's Master and Commander, that fantastic movie.
I haven't seen it actually.
Really?
I still have to see that one. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's been on my list. I just didn't get around.
Fantastic movie, and I think they have to pull a tooth on the guy. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Did you read those books, the Patrick O'Brian books of the Jack Aubrey series?
No.
Really?
No.
You really haven't read them?
No.
Okay. Oh, they're terrible.
In the last few years, I haven't really had much time to read almost any books. It's just been the last 2-3 years. It's been flat out.
Yeah.
I've got a stack of books next to my bed, and it's just I've started bits and pieces, and then I want to read the guy of the I forget his name. He was a Belgian guy who became a Waffen SS during the Second World War.
I think I know the book.
I forgot his name.
Yeah, I think I know you.
No.
Is he like he's not a Belgian guy. He's that bit of France that was between France and Germany, like the Sudan
I think he was a politician. He was like the youngest politician.
No, this isn't the one I'm thinking of. Then
it's and I've got.
And did it finish well for him?
Well, I don't know. I got this far into the book, and then
Do you read multiple books at the same time? Do you have?
I didn't used to. I used to like start one book, finish one book.
Yeah.
But as I've got older and I've got less and less time, I tend to like, okay, let me just see if this is worth like going through the whole thing, and I'll quickly I can review a book in like 5 minutes and get a sense of it. And this is a good one. I want to read it, so I don't want to like half-ass it. Like the Iliad is a brilliant book, but to read the Iliad properly, you need to have a month sitting on a beach with people bringing you drinks and doing nothing else. It's like,
I could do that.
Yeah. Go have the 5 kids, you weakling. then talk to me.
He's just just jealous. That,
we had this conversation when he was like, why would I want, I told him a bit about my life, which I don't tell you guys, I told him a lot more than I tell the stream. And he was like, why would I want that stress, dude? I can do what I want, when I want, work where I want, go see who I want, sleep when I want. It's like, I've been there, I needed a challenge.
And it's working out great for you.
No, it is. Oh yeah, we're talking about rosaries. This is my little battle rosary, which doubles as a garrote in case you come across heathens.
Okay, that's pretty full on. That's weighty.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, what's that made out of? It's like brass or something.
Yeah, paracord, brass, and copper.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, and copper as well.
Yeah, the copper is the separate the glory and the knots of the.
So are you doing your 5 decades every day like a good boy?
No,
why not?
I'm very poor at keeping up to that.
Yeah.
I have to. I'm making a conscious effort to be a bit better at it. I do like throughout my day. I'll do like Hail Marys randomly and Pater Nosters and whatever. But.
So I say the Rosary. So today was Thursday, so that was the Joyful Mysteries, and of course the old Rosary, not the abomination that John Paul II added.
He's not John Paul Wojtyła.
Added illuminated
Polish guy. Yeah.
So today was the Joyful, and I don't get it. So I go to church, and the Rosary in church is one guy saying the first joyful mystery, Mary's chosen Mother of God, blah blah blah, and then they just say 10 Hail Marys, and the guy saying it will say the first half of the Hail Mary, and then the congregation will say the second half of the Hail Mary, right?
Yeah.
But the way that I was taught to say the Rosary is that you'd start off saying the first joyful mystery. To say what is it? Obedience is the first one. Whatever it is, it's just gone from my head now. I know them all off by heart. But you say the line, and then you say the Hail Mary, and then you say the line, and then you say the Hail Mary. You've got the.
I didn't actually ask a priest.
So Mary was chosen Mother of God.
Yeah.
Hail Mary.
I haven't actually checked with our priest. I need to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you asked him?
No, it's just that's the way. Like when I was 7 or 8 years old, because I'm Catholic originally.
I know, but that was the Novus Ordo guy, so I don't trust anything they do. Not really.
But just saying the Hail Marys with no with no structure behind it. I find that really, really strange on the rosary.
I don't know. I started praying the rosary before I got baptized, really, and I used to do it on the way to work because I was close enough to work. I used to walk to work basically, and I just used to do it on my walk in the early morning, and I just used to like say it in Latin, and I saw the effect it has. It's like awesome. So, but you know, I tend to like get busy and stuff, and then I forget, and then I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And it's usually when I end up going to, just before I go to sleep, or when I wake up in the morning first thing. That's sort of like when I try and do some. But yeah, I need to improve my prayer record, put it that way.
Yeah, I think look, we were talking about this today over the drink in the bar, that the prayer is something that you need to train in.
Yeah.
That you need to, just like anything.
Yep.
You need to get better at it.
Yeah.
And so that obviously the more that you do it, the better you get. So has anyone commented on the rosary we're talking about?
No, so bluegrass is Appalachian folk music originally created by the Scots-Irish. Oh, that's you. Their bourbon whiskey, though, is thoroughly from Kentucky.
Okay.
Oh, so maybe you were right.
No, Appalachian is...
Hello. And Wooly says, grab The Secret of the Rosary by St. Louis de Montfort. Oh, thank you.
All right, haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, I'll look into that one. Yeah.
Okay.
We had an interesting conversation today at the bar about Catholicism and crusading, and like, you know, I think Adam was saying, like, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever, before I became a hardcore Catholic, the idea of like, I don't know, getting cancer and having terminal disease would have terrified me. Now it's like, I'll enjoy my life for as long as I can, and maybe have an extra glass of wine because I can, you know. And I was you know, that is a very clear indication that something's changed at a very deep level. For me, what was the thing that made me realize that was I was never really scared of death, even when I wasn't, you know, when I was agnostic or even atheist. I wasn't worried. It's just like, well, it happens, no point worrying about it. But for me, the thing was realizing once at dinner with my wife, just like out of the blue, I thought about it, and I was like, oh, I would rather be killed than deny Jesus Christ or something like that, which is like, if you told me that a few years earlier, I would have just laughed at you. I would have thought, that's such an idiotic thing. That's like, I don't know.
Loser.
Yeah, getting killed for like not saying that Ronald McDonald is the best dude or something, you know. Yeah. I would have laughed at that. So there's some very deep changes that happen when you actually become a proper believer, I guess. So it was a very interesting talk.
Yeah, and we were talking about how when you first, people who come back to Christianity, or they turn to Christianity if they didn't have a background at it in their youth, either one. At the start, you're just learning about the religion again, and it's very, I would say, quite superficial. You're trying to work out what's going on.
Yeah.
And then the more you get into it, then it becomes a deeper relationship. But it's still one way, you to God.
Mm.
And then as you start to really get into it, then it becomes a two-way conversation or relationship,
yes.
say. And that's where we all want to be. And that's, like I said before, that prayer is that's the highway to get there.
Yeah.
You can't do it by walking around thinking that I'm a Christian. You know?
No, and I gotta say, my prayers most of the time, my prayers are simply to like say thank you. They're not
gratitude.
It's just like, man, I am so lucky. I have had such good grace from God, especially mostly considering, you know, what I've been like, where I've come from, how I've lived my life up to that point. And it's just like, and even now, you know, the mistakes or errors I do every day on a daily basis, it's just like,
yeah, you made a lot today.
Yeah. It's just that I told you we needed a plumb line. You were going on about level. We didn't need a level. We needed a plumb line.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's true. And I think also the virtues.
Yeah.
Because there's a long list.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you get into the list of the virtues, the proper list, it's like 64. I can't remember.
Yeah, but the main ones are like 7, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're all they all branch off
Groups, yeah.
groups off each other, and then you've got the opposites of the virtues, the
Yeah, the
vices,
sins.
you know,
7 sins.
and then they all branch off,
Yeah.
and I think trying to work on those on a daily basis, and at the end of the day, you know, before you go to sleep, you know, saying, well, I did this okay today,
Yeah.
but you know, I can do this better, and this I definitely fell down. But I think the big change is when you have an awareness of sin. When you have an awareness of sin throughout your day, that what you're about to do, or maybe some word. I think the hardest thing for me, sin-wise, is words coming out of my mouth that I shouldn't be saying it. Maybe people are talking about someone else, whether the person deserves it or not.
Yeah.
And I'm involved in the conversation, so we're basically at the end of the day shitting on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the one now that I've become very aware of what's going on. And I've actually been in conversations recently where I've said, I don't feel like shitting on this person. I'll just step out of this one if you don't mind. And it's amazing the effect that has on
people,
on the other people. They're like, oh yeah, we are shitting on that person, aren't we? And it actually does.
Yeah, it makes them aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's that awareness of sin throughout your everyday.
Yeah. See, for me, that is not such a big deal, because if I'm gonna say something about someone, I would tell them to their face. There's no difference in my head. If the guy was sitting right there, he would get told the exact same thing. So it's not. I don't really have that. I don't feel like I'm doing anything particularly bad, but I know what you mean. You know, there are times, but if I'm talking with a friend and I say, look, you know, we're talking about a subject that then brings up an individual related to that subject, like, oh, this guy at the council, you know, I was trying to do this, and this guy at the council, and then it comes out, you can't do something because of how this guy is or whatever. I don't feel that's like gossip or slagging him off or anything like that. I'm just relating a factual thing, which can include how that person behaves.
Yeah.
So that's not a big thing for me. And also, I think we've got a very different approach. You're very methodical in how you do this stuff. I tend to be like, simplify as much as possible. So you know what you were saying, there are 64 virtues and however many sins. The way I look at it is like, I go the Russian way, which is like, there's only 2 emotions: love, fear. You're either acting out of one or the other. And yes, there are millions of nuances or whatever. But ultimately, when you respond to anything, you're either responding from fear, which can present itself as anger, cowardice, a bunch of things, or you're acting out of love. So as long as if I'm unsure or something, I'm like, okay, wait, where am I coming from here? And that's, to me, that's like how they...
That's a good way of looking at it. I went back to the full range of virtues and vices when I was going to confession, and I'd already got the big mortal sins out of the way.
Yeah. And
I'm so aware of the mortal sins now that it's quite rare for me to have to go to confession and confess a mortal sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He's a good guy.
But it's the venal sins. When you look at the big list of virtues and then the corresponding mirror on the vices next to it, and you start seeing some of those, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm not going to have to dig very far for confession next time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a lot more. I mean, like despair.
Yeah.
That's a venal sin. And it can turn into a mortal sin. And that's the problem with the venal sins, is if you let them go and you're not aware,
that's it. They drag you down. Yeah.
They drag you down into the mortal sin. So I think what you're saying about love and fear is very apt and absolutely can really help, and I'll use that in the future.
Yeah.
But if you also have a look at the
I was actually going to ask, like, is there a place you got that list? Like,
I've got that list. I can send it to you. I can send it through to you.
I'm gonna ping it on the thing. Maybe you want to. Yeah. Oh, sorry. The stream is running away from us.
Nice.
Cordell says, I get really terrible nightmares, and praying Hail Mary seems to prevent them from happening in succession.
That's a good one.
It does, yeah.
I also I like 2 things. I like the Jesus prayer.
What's the Jesus?
Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also like "Get behind me, Satan."
Yeah.
That
Yes.
That-
I use that a lot.
works
Yeah.
amazingly. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm just lying in bed trying to get to sleep, and suddenly some shitty thoughts are coming into my head, and I can see where this is going to go. You say that, gone.
Yeah. No,
Gone.
it does. I use that "get behind me, Satan"
Get
a
behind me,
lot.
Satan
Yeah.
is an absolute beauty.
TVC says, Sam, don't consider tedium as a factor. The value of prayer is never measured by how comfortable it is. However, if you feel like you're rushing, remember that one focused prayer is better than 1,000 said in haste and thoughtlessly.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Who was, I'm not sure. Oh, Sam, sorry. Sorry, Sam was saying, but he was responding to Sam. I missed this message. Which was saying, praying the rosary is a real chore for me. I feel like I'm rushing through it.
Yeah.
Any tips to make it less
All right,
tedious? Yeah.
I've got a tip for that, and this is one that really helped me. If you're just mindlessly saying the Hail Marys, think of those as dust that you're throwing at the feet of Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What you want to be doing with each Hail Mary is that each Hail Mary is a banquet of a bouquet of the most beautiful roses that you're laying at the feet of Mary. So and the best way to start that off is visualizing it.
Yeah.
And then the more you do that, then you can actually get a feeling of love coming through.
I started doing the Hail Marys originally because I was trying to learn it in Latin because, I don't know, it just feels nicer for me.
Sure.
So at first I was just doing it by rote, like martial arts, just ich, ni, san, chi, go. It's just like Hail Mary, and I was just doing it like that. But the thing is, if you do that enough, and I mean, you've got to be a little bit, autistic or like focused or whatever. Even just by rote, just like doing it, eventually it puts you in like a sort of meditative sort of state.
Yeah.
And you actually feel, you then, repeating by rote so much, it actually sinks in. Somehow on a subconscious level, it actually makes you aware of, oh, Mary, full of grace. What actually that means. It becomes almost a physical sort of.
Well, I've actually had it a few times lately become physical for me in that when I start saying the Hail Marys, in fact the whole rosary, like a little bit into the rosary, my voice will change, and it just happened of its own accord the first time, and it went kind of Gregorian chant.
Oh.
and I didn't know why I did it, and I hadn't consciously thought about doing that.
Yeah.
And then I was in a room that I'm staying in. It's actually belongs to the parish, the little apartment I'm in. So it's got really high ceilings. So it resonates, and you get that really nice echo with it, and that was really cool. And it's happened like 3 or 4 times to me.
You've just reminded me. We were talking about this earlier today. That we've got a friend that's trying to buy a place here, and it's literally opposite the church. And the place he's trying to buy has actually got a little thing on the front that says, "Oh, if you say a Hail Mary here, you get like 30 days of indulgence," or something like that. From the old days, it's still an old plaque. It's just still there. And Adam was saying, does he realize that he's going to have church bells?
Because it's right across.
It is.
And where I'm staying right now, the church bell ringer is like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like he's disturbed. He's got problems. Yeah. All right. So this is my church bell day any day of the week. Okay. So the clock will start bonging at 6:30. All right, bonging the hours in the morning because, like, apparently a year ago that they had a vote in the town because they were like between 9 p.m. and 6:30 a.m. we don't want the church bells no more, right? Yeah, because this is too much, even this little town, And I'm literally right next to the Campanella, right? Anyway, at 7 o'clock, it hits the 7, and then between 15 seconds and 45 seconds after that, Notre Dame dude will start going. Now, I've timed his record at 7 a.m. 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Once the fucker got to about 5 minutes and let it start to wind down, so you're thinking it's okay now, and then he went off again and did another 3 or 4 minutes. But Sunday, holy crap! So last Sunday is demented church bell hunted at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8:30, 9 and 9:30.
Yeah.
And it's like 6 to 9 minutes each time, and it's right fucking there. Now I'm Catholic, but come on, dude, come on, man, come on.
I don't know about having it like next door to your bedroom, but
So it's like this guy wants to buy. Does he realise?
yeah. But the
Right?
thing is, when I was in Venice, the church was spitting distance from the apartment I was in, and the windows were facing it.
Okay.
So I would get it Sunday morning. But the thing, and I hate noises that wake me up. I'm not a morning guy.
I noticed that. this
But,
morning. I tried to get my coffee.
Yeah, but
Door's locked.
yeah. Well, I had a sick kid and an injured wife. It's just anyway. But church bells have never bothered me. I don't know why. And I read somewhere.
You gotta come to my town.
Yeah, I read somewhere that it was because church bells have a specific frequency that like heals like the human body or whatever. And
I'm not healed, man.
Yeah. Well, you've got a freak doing it. You know, if he was doing it properly, it probably would be pretty good. And you know what you were saying about the Gregorian chant. So there is obviously a sound. If you've noticed in many churches, like old churches, there is definitely a sound quality, and they were built to do certain frequencies,
vibrations, and that sort of stuff.
And it is. I mean, I've always found, even when I didn't believe in anything, but if you walked into a church and just sat down, there was a certain aura of pleasant sort of, oh, you can just chill here sort of thing. And I'm wondering whether that sound stuff was, you know, how important that is, and I think it probably is quite important. Sylvester Rep. Hello, Sylvester. I had the same change of attitude on mortality a few years ago. Shared it with only one person. I was looked at like a kebab about to blow himself up. Well, that's what God is most intent on changing. God's got a hard time with me, but yeah, assuming it's not too private. No, it's not too private for me. I would say there's elements of, I think the best way to put it is like a generic, I wouldn't say fixation or obsession or anything like that, but interest, or let's say interest to the level it becomes unhealthy in pretty much all things secular, really. You know, whether it's like sins of I've never been like a food guy or a drink guy. I have been a sex guy, but you know that
the
I'm
internet.
married, so yeah, all sorts of even when we say the internet, trying to figure out when the nukes are gonna drop or whatever, you know, stuff like that. It is not really doesn't actually really interest me that much, but you tend to get caught up in it. And instead, I should be like focusing more on like, okay, what's my kid doing, and you know, am I planting the tree, you know, pruning the tree?
Oh, that's a nice thing about today. You know, the only time I really looked at the internet today was when we were checking out the houses for sale on Casa.it. But apart from that, we spent the day running around doing different things and building your ridiculous lean-to. So you know, it was away from that. When you read out the question, then the first thing that came into my mind was selfishness. Are you a
selfish guy?
Well, you said it before. I want to sleep when I want. I want to do what I want.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right, man. Get married, have some kids. You won't exist anymore.
Yeah, but it's been pretty much my whole life about me. I don't think selfish in the traditional. I want.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to share.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
For instance, when I finished up working in Saudi Arabia in June, I came over here and I went and helped my mate with his adventure park for 3 months, and I didn't want any money.
Yeah.
So I worked
every
day because it's the summer season, and that's the first time in my life I've really 3 months
Yeah.
Not getting paid, work every day, 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, and I actually got the inspiration from that from the Rosary. I mean,
Yeah.
in the second joyful mystery, Mary visits Elizabeth, and Mary spends Mary spends 3 months there with her. She's not just lip service. She's not lip. You know what I mean? It's an actual skin in the game.
Yeah.
Mary is pregnant herself.
Yeah.
And then goes to help Elizabeth for 3 months, and that's and I sort of went, okay, well. And I think for me, and that's just one example, but there's been many examples that I've been trying to do. It's also yourself, where I'm trying to be less focused on myself, more charitable.
Yeah. Well, Adam sent me quite a substantial. No. I want to say it. It's he actually sent me a random amount of money, which is like a considerable amount of money. Out of the blue, I just said, no, I think you moved there, you got stuff to do, I want to help out. And I was like, okay, thanks, dude. But, I didn't expect that. And it was totally random from my perspective. It was sort of like, wow, that's a cool guy. So, yeah, I don't...
And you had to work on a thing as well, which is accepting charity. And you said that to me at the time.
That is true. I've never been... Yeah, I was. I've never been very good at taking stuff from people, or people even giving me stuff, because I've always just done shit on my own. It's like, oh, well, fuck it, I'll just work hard, I'll do this, I'll do that. And it's been, most of my life, I never really asked for help from anybody. I'm not saying I didn't get any, but, my parents or whatever, like, maybe people really close to me, like, I would be okay with that. But I'm like, from people, I mean, I hadn't even met you until now, physically, face to face. So we've just been talking on the internet. It's unusual for me. I felt to be honest, I felt quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I had to work on it. And so I say, no, that's what he wants to do. I didn't ask him. I didn't, say anything. And it was like, no, I just got to be cool with this. And I had to work on that. That is true. I struggle a little bit to like, oh, okay, the guy's being nice to me for no reason. Like, what does he want? No, it wasn't that. It wasn't. I didn't have that feeling at all.
How much for your daughter?
No, but it's like, So that is a thing, I guess. And funnily enough, I was talking with one of the other little Crusader guys I told you about, and he mentioned this. He was like, look, if you're kind of pretty good at everything, then your problem is that you're not asking help from God enough. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel like you're kind of whining and cheating and asking for help. It's like, just get off your ass and do stuff, and then if you get help, great. And I think that is the right attitude. But
I think, going back to the question about, which was a good question, by the way, about what aspect of this is
God wants to change the most.
And I think my general attitude to this is I want to change because it pleases Him.
Yes.
Not because I want to get stuff.
No, absolutely. I've done that for years before, long before I got married, or baptized even. I was saying that. I was like, dude, whatever I need to become, make me what I need to become. Like that was my prayer. I was like, whatever is good, like, make me good. And I don't care how much it pains or hurts me. Just don't make other people that I care about suffer for it. Like, make me take the damage if I have to take damage. If it burns, let it burn for me, not for other people. I prayed that daily, multiple times a day, like for a couple of years probably. So yeah, that was, I relate to that very much. Make me what I need to be. Like, not what I want, what you want.
And I say that, for instance, I had a business trip to Munich last week, and before I went, I prayed to God and I said, help me to make this go well, as to what you define
as well.
Is well, not what we would define in the short, immediate term.
Yeah, because we can't see.
Because we can't see it.
Like
and that for me is a big change. That for me is, and that's only come about in the last, I would say, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Where I'm very conscious of the fact that, and that's a lesson I've learned all my life, including my secular time. my basic philosophy was short-term pain, long-term gain, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So what's hard for you in the short term
Yeah.
is good for you in the
Yeah.
long term.
Yeah.
And what's good for you in the short term
That's a
is
very
very often not good for you in the long term.
Very, very good point. That I think one of the indications of proper Catholicism is that you're focusing on the long term, and you don't care how painful it is in the moment. And I think also that's probably a lot easier for men generally to get that philosophy of way of thinking than women. I think women are.
I wouldn't know. I don't try and get in their heads. I've given up on
Wise
that.
man.
I don't know. And actually, I don't care. All right. So what's the next question? That was a good question, by the way.
Yeah, it was.
Will you run?
So next one, Pragmatic Troll. I have my first catechism phone call with an SSPV priest tonight. Good luck. It's a good step in the right direction. Sam says, thank you TMC, Dave and Kurgan, he was asking about praying the rosary and how to do it.
Okay.
Cooper Chauvin. Hello, Cooper Chauvin. Oh, Cooper Chauvin is one of the few guys that bought my little role-playing game and wrote a review of it. He's now got an autographed copy.
Sorry.
Yes.
He wants a list as well.
I'd like that list too.
So I'll send that through to you afterwards.
Yeah, and then I can post it somewhere.
You can post it.
Post it on your blog or something.
Yeah. Just get a link up, maybe on your blog, because these guys go to your one, don't they?
Yeah, we'll do it on both.
Do it on both.
TV says another aspect is that the Hail Marys could/should ? Be used as background for picturing the event in the life of Christ and his mother that we are to visualize, and so the rosary becomes a kind of imaginative adventure, although remains difficult. That's what you were saying.
Yeah, so I say the line
Yeah.
before each Hail Mary, and it's killing me now that I can't remember the first line of the first joyful mystery. It's but I've also started saying the 7 sorrows of Mary.
Oh,
So there's 7 sorrows of Mary, so one for each day of the week.
gotta be tough.
Yeah, and it's very short. So you basically, there's a little introduction prayer like Glory be to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, blah, blah. And then day 1 will be Monday. And it's literally it's like 2 lines. But it's one of the sorrows. So the first, and then you say 7 Hail Marys.
Right.
Okay? And then there's a little tiny closing prayer. So it takes 3 or 4 minutes. So your first, there's the 7 sorrows. So the first sorrowful mystery is the flight into, when Samoan, the holy man, foretells that her own soulless sword shall pierce when they're offering Jesus up to God in Jerusalem, 8 days after he's born. Second one is the flight into Egypt. Yeah. Third one is when they lose him in the temple, when he's 12 years old in Jerusalem. The fourth one is when, I think it is, she meets Jesus carrying the cross. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
and then, I know there's one before that. And then, of course, she's at the foot of the cross. There's 7 in total. And I read this one on Father Z's blog.
Yeah.
And he wrote a bunch of posts a few years ago, and he relinked to them. And he did, for each of the 7 sorrows, he did like a full background on it. And a full theological, in-depth, like 1,000 words. Fantastic. Okay. Really fantastic. I can send you a link to that one as well. For the sorrowful mystery where she bumps into Jesus carrying the cross, he linked to the scene from Mel Gibson's Passion of Christ film.
I haven't watched that film, and I probably won't.
I tell you what, you'll watch that one little clip, and if you don't bawl your eyes out,
but that's what I mean.
I don't think you.
I've had this conversation before. I've told the stream this before, like, and I've checked on this with guys that were in special ops, like hardcore people, right? They've killed people, that've had been shot, they've really gone through the ringer sort of thing, and then they became believers. And it came about as a result of reading about the Shroud of Turin, and that they've now done a 3D model of what Jesus looked like from that shroud by using laser interferometry and whatever.
White guy.
Yeah. Not just was a 6 foot blue eyed, probably. We don't know about the eyes, but not only that, but he was. The wounds on his body, you could decipher what happened and where they put the nails through the wrists and stuff. And it's like, just reading that was like pretty gross. And I mean, keep in mind, I've like butchered animals from the age of 12 on, being covered in blood, all sorts of stuff.
So these special guys, what they couldn't.
The same thing, that I've asked these guys, and I've said, so have you watched The Passion, the Mel Gibson film? And every one of us is like, I can't watch that stuff. Because it's like, it's so fucking soul-rending, because he's not just, he's the perfect human being, like he's innocent, he's completely, this is the most unjust thing ever, okay? It's the most
But it's not,
unjust.
that's not the point.
But
I've watched the first part of the film, because I found it on BitChute with the proper translation of the Latin. Because
Aramaic, they're speaking
Aramaic, whatever they're speaking. So I've watched the scene, the opening scene in the Garden of Gethsemane, and then what is it? Peter cuts off the guy's ear, and Jesus literally puts it back on, and then they take him away, and then I've watched that scene, and that was all I was able to get through at the time. Then I watched that scene that Father Z linked to on the one of the 7 Sorrows of Mary. I tell you what, man, holy crap, Mel Gibson did a good job on that film.
Mate, that's what it's honestly I believe that each soul is like on a certain shape, or call it what you want, right? But I know that it's just rural internet, sometimes it gets bumpy.
I think when you look at it the way that, so he died for our sins.
Yes.
Okay, so wait a sec. When you think about that, so Jesus is God, right?
Yeah.
All right, so he's died for our sins. He was scourged for our sins, yeah?
And then Jesus...
aware of all sins, of all humanity,
of course,
of all time,
of course,
past and present and future,
of course,
in that moment.
Yes.
Only God could survive that. We have difficulty just watching a film.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't make it better. That makes it worse.
No, I know. But
it's like, I mean, we're scum. We did that. Like it or not. The Jews.
It was the Jews.
But, it was us, really. So, we're going to get banned. So we've got another strike now. But, it's like, I don't know, it's too much. But the thing is, I talked about it with my wife, and she watched it.
Okay.
This is before we even got, and I was like, oh, how did you manage to look? And I'm not a squeamish guy. I mean,
Yeah.
And she was like, well, the way I looked at it was like, he died for our sins. The least I can do is watch it. And I was like, oh, that's like, I'm just a cowardly scum.
I think you should watch it.
I've been trying to build myself up to watch it for years, mate, and I'm like,
I think you should just pull the trigger and stop being a big baby.
It's just...
Alright, let's see what else. Let's see what other people think. Should the Kurgan watch The Passion of Christ? Alright, what H...
Cordell Mitchell, what was saying? What H's
to bells ring?
Bell ring at wonder, I guess, the hands of music... Oh, the hertz.
Okay.
Sorry, what hertz do bells ring at, I wonder?
I don't know. The ones that ring near my house are megahertz of doom.
I guess the hertz of music being played has a psychological effect. It does. I think it has a physiological effect more than a psychological one.
Yeah.
What hertz do bells ring at? I don't know. Thy will be done, not mine. Yeah, we're saying that the reproaches from Good Friday Mass are heart-rending. Indeed. Sam Webb says, I walked out of the theater. It was exactly as he described it, being horrifying. Plus, the devil was too literally creepy. Look, for me, it's just, I don't know. I guess I gotta pay those sins in purgatory because it feels so just bad. Pedro Rocha says hello, and Willie Ram says, as the old joke goes, for their part in the crucifixion, the Judeans were turned into Jews, while the Romans were turned into the Italians. Very good. Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I struggle with that. But apparently, I keep hoping it's real. I don't know if it's true or not. But apparently, Mel Gibson is making a sequel, which is The Resurrection. That film I want to watch. If he's doing that one, I want to see that one.
The thing that I don't understand about The Passion of the Christ is why he stopped it where he stopped it. Why not end on a somewhat uplifting note?
No, but that's correct. He did the right thing because he's a proper Catholic. He's a sedevacantist as well, right? Mm. Because you have to take on board all of that fucking pain, evil, trauma, call it whatever you want. You really have to digest that before you can then have the resurrection. Let's put it this way: if he finishes the resurrection, I might be able to stomach watching The Passion because then I know that I can quickly run to that one and try to heal my damaged brain.
There was a film that came out a couple of years ago about the resurrection, and it was a detective film. So a Roman.
I saw it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've seen parts of it, but
I saw it. It's good.
I've heard it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a Roman legionnaire that was trying to figure out what the freaks were believing.
Yeah.
Very good. I did enjoy it. Well, when I say very good, I think that the Mel Gibson The Resurrection film would be brilliant. And then I don't know if this is rumor or nonsense, but I've heard that he's also doing a film on the Rothschilds. Which, if he survives doing those two films, I'll be very impressed. That'll be very good to see.
I saw an interesting film recently, which just popped up on my radar on BitChute, because BitChute is where I go to for my films.
Yeah.
And it was something, I can't remember the actual title, it was something like The Tale of the Fisherman, or something like that.
Okay.
And it was about the Pope. So the Pope, there's a Russian in a Siberian camp in 1960, late 60s, early 70s, yeah? And he was a priest, and he'd been in the Siberian camps for decades. And he gets pardoned by the Soviets and sent back to Rome because they're kind of doing it as a political play.
Exchange of prisoners or whatever.
Yeah. It wasn't exchange of a political play. And he ends up back at the Vatican and gets made a cardinal and then gets elected Pope when the Pope dies. So the film's really interesting because it shows in real detail the whole process for electing the Pope.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to, he never thinks he's going to be the Pope. And it turns out that the two guys that are trying, someone just picks him as a via di mezzo.
Middle of the road. Yeah.
Middle of the road. And then he's been made Pope and I won't, and then and it's a really long film. I think it's 2.5 or 3 hours or something like this. And Laurence Olivier's in it.
What's it called?
Does anyone know the Tale of the Fisherman?
Okay.
But just a great film. Yeah. Just a great film on the inner workings of the Catholic Church, but also the way they did it. And it's a really long film, but it feels like.
Well, I felt like that about The Mission. Have you seen The Mission?
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Cross going over the waterfalls.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great music too.
Yeah.
Was it Vangelis?
Was
it Vangelis?
No, Ennio Morricone.
No, it was Morricone who did The Mission. Yeah. It was Morricone.
But, yeah.
Favorite. Someone's asked me who my favorite saint is.
Well, you've got you got one for your baptism, right?
Yeah, your confirmation.
Did you pick that? Oh.
I never did my confirmation properly. I've got two saints. There's Saint Rita,
Yeah.
patron saint of the impossible.
That's a good one.
Also patron saint of difficult marriages. Saint Rita is the saint that you go to, and there's a 9-day liturgy of prayer to Saint Rita, where you can ask her, you can beseech her to petition God for something that is really that you feel that you need, whether or not God thinks you need it is obvious, and we've spoken about it already.
Yeah.
Is another one. There's another saint, and this is killing me right now because just like I can't remember the first line of the Joyful Mystery, which I do off by heart every time.
Oh, I'm terrible. The saint that I took on as a name for my confirmation is, I remember he was the captain of the guard of the Eastern Emperor.
Okay.
But he's a saint for both churches because at that time it was just the one church, you know. And I always forget his name as well. Like I remember, his wife was called Natalia.
Yeah.
And his name is, I always get it mistaken because there's various versions of it. There's like the Latin version, there's the Italianized version, there's the English version, and it starts always with an A. I think I've got it here actually. I'm not sure if it's in one of these. Oh, maybe I think I moved it, but I've got like the little thing that the priest give you, and he's the patron saints of warriors, butchers, and epileptics.
That's a good mix.
Yeah, that's oh man, what is his name? Again, so I know. Yeah, maybe that beer really is bad.
Yeah, it's toxic shit. The one I'm trying to think of is a Spanish saint from like the 15th or 16th century, and just had the coolest life of all time. And I've got his Wikipedia page permanently open on my browser, on my Firefox or my Brave browser page. I've got like 20 tabs permanently open, and that's the first one.
Yeah.
Because I always go back and read it. I could go down and get my computer now, and I could come back and say the name of this saint, but it's just gone, really gone. But
we're blaming this cheap Mexican beer.
I don't even think it's Mexican.
No, it's just got a Mexican hat on it. It's probably made in Poland. Where is it? Oh, I can't.
Made with cat's piss.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. It's a good question. I can't.
I've got the thing somewhere else.
I can't.
Right. Let's see what else is going on.
He's got the very last shot of the Passion is Jesus coming back to life, if I remember correctly. I'm like you. I haven't got the whole mission. Through the whole film. All right. Tell you what. Let's make a deal.
No, I don't want to make any deals that's going to hurt me. I said if Mel finishes the resurrection,
I'll watch the whole thing, and then you watch the whole thing.
No, I'll watch it when I want to watch it. I'm a free man.
Being a pussy. Everyone tell Kurgan to stop being a pussy.
No, it's one of those things, and no one's gonna. I'll do it when I do it, not when anybody else tells me. Saint Isaac the Syrian. Oh, never heard of him. Saint Isaac the Syrian.
That's not my guy.
I've got quite a few saints I quite like. Joan of Arc is one of my favorites. I definitely like her. That's the one that my wife took on actually, and she was awesome. I mean, I've read like the story of Joan of Arc, and the best one is the one that was told by a guy that was her contemporary when he was like in his late 90s. It was about his deathbed, basically. He was telling his nephew about it. And there's bits of it that you sort of think, oh, this guy's just hallucinating, making shit up. And I'm like, no, I'm sure that's true. Because he talks about how in the old days they used to play around this tree that had fairies, and they used to play with the fairies. And then one kid got hurt, and the priest was like, that's it, you guys don't really belong here, you shouldn't be here, you should like stick to your realm. And the fairies were like, oh no, but we're really sorry. And it's like, if one kid gets injured at all in any minor way, I'm banning you guys, and I've got the power to like ban you from this realm. And then an accident happened, and again the priest just like banned them, and since then they couldn't play with the fairies anymore. They didn't exist. They couldn't, interact with them.
Access.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of people
That was a
think that
pretty-
that's nonsense or
That's a
whatever.
pretty dead shit priest, you know. Would have been like to hang out with fairies. We get fairies now of a different kind.
Yes, and
We get the
don't have any-
rainbow.
yeah,
the
and
rainbow
the
fairies.
priests don't really do anything about that. The fake Novus Ordo priests.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But I can ban those ones though. Kurgan, don't make deals that hurt me. Also, Kurgan gets married multiple times. Don't be weak. One of the saints almost forgotten in the West.
And I
As
was
in
saying
the
for
early
me,
saints
this-
from
this
the
is
ME.
the Syrian dude, St. Isaac.
Yeah.
I said, all right, I'll look him up. I'll check him out.
And Sam Wereb says, I plan to be confirmed next Easter Sunday. I'll take Saint Camillus. But tell me a bit about him. We don't know. Well, good. Glad you're getting confirmed. Tell us a bit about Saint Camillus. I haven't heard that name before.
No, I haven't heard that one.
No. Yes.
There's a lot of saints.
Oh, there is. There's plenty of them.
There's a lot to choose from. That's half the
You know,
problem.
and then, this is an ancient Italian dictionary. I had this when I was a teenager. I think I got it when I was like 12 or 13 or something like that. And at the back here, you've got names, you know, common Italian names, and for each name it'll tell you the saint and the time, the day they were born.
I'm going to go get my computer now. I need to find the name of this saint. You keep talking for a while. Yeah. I'm going to get it.
I hit his autist button. But, well, we've been going on an hour already. I'm going to try and remember the name of the saint whose name I took. That is... oh, sorry, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's got an A in it. It's got an N in it. If you were speaking to your pre-Catholic selves, what particular bits of advice would you give? Well, I've done that already, TVC. I've written Believe. 98-page little book called Believe that has got, it's probably over 100 people now that have converted to Sedevacantism. And I've put it all in there, pretty much what I would have liked somebody to tell me when, at any point before, you know, I became a Christian. That would have been, I think, very useful. And I think it's been somewhat successful in that a lot of people that have read it have converted. So I think that probably works. You know, I was, all the Christians I met before I became a proper Catholic, you know, until I started studying it and went to look for Sedevacantists, they were all Novus Ordo or like some weird Protestants or whatever. So there wasn't any good advice that I got from any of these guys. They're asking a question: what bit of advice would you give to your pre-Catholic selves?
Don't be an atheist, dick.
Yeah. Well, I said I've done that. I've written Believe, that like 98-page little book, and I pretty much put it all in there. Joe says, thanks all for the stream. Thank you. Athanasius. No, Athanasius was before Saint Adrian. That's it. Saint Adrian of Nicomedia. I get confused because in Latin it's Adrianus. And then I know people that are called Adrian, Adriano, and so on. And it just, I don't know why it messes with my head. But yes, that is Saint Adrian of Nicomedia. That's the one. And his wife Natalia, where they both became Catholic saints. And the reason I like him also is because that, I think, is considered baptism of desire and or blood at the same time, because he was the captain of the guard that was overseeing the torturing of Christians.
Okay.
And he was so impressed with how courageous they were, and they're just taking the torture and dying and whatever. He was like, no, these guys have got to be right. I'm one of them now. I'll become one of them. And he was immediately put to torture for like days.
Okay.
And eventually they burnt his body.
That's a big boy thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole, you know.
And he got burnt so that only one hand was left, which they didn't want any bits of him left for people to, like, you know, venerate or whatever. But his wife managed to steal a hand that was left from the ashes, and she ran off because there was big political guys that wanted to marry her, or wanted to get married to her, and they were just gonna basically force her to do it.
All right, so I got my saint.
Yeah.
All right, it's got a bit of a funny Spanish name. So Saint Anthony Mary Claret.
Anthony Mary Claret, like the wine.
Yeah, patron saint of textile merchants, weavers' savings, taught the poor the importance of savings. Catholic press, Claretons, dioceses of the Canary Islands, Clareton students, Clareton educators and foundations. Okay, so this dude, alright, so born in the province of Barcelona, 1807, fifth of 11 children, father was a woolen manufacturer. As a child, he enjoyed pilgrimage to the nearby shrine of Our Lady of Fusimania. Anyway, received an education, became proficient in Latin, French, and engraving. Frightened that his love of programming, loom programmer, was causing him to become obsessed and burned out. Recognised the call to religious life. He went to a seminary, blah, blah, blah. And this was during the Carlist Civil War. Recalled by his superiors to Vic, Claret was sent as apostolistic missionary throughout Catalonia, which had suffered from French invasions during the Napoleonic Peninsula campaign. He travelled from one mission to the next on foot. An eloquent preacher, fluent in the Catalan language, he drew people from miles around. After a lengthy time in the pulpit, he would spend long hours in the confessional. He was said to have had the gift of discernment of consciences. His life was threatened by anti-clerical enemies. He was sent to the Canary Islands, where he gave retreats for 15 months. His missions were so well attended that he often preached from an improvised pulpit in the plaza before the church. So this guy was said to have heard more confessions. Like, for instance, as Archbishop, 9,000 marriages were validated within the first 2 years of his arrival. He wrote something like 80 books or something like that. Was an exceptional preacher with incredible charismas. Witnesses said his body would become transfigured while preaching or in prayer. He would levitate up to 6 feet off the ground in times in front of credible witnesses. He stopped a series of earthquakes in Cuba by kneeling on the ground and placing his palms to the earth while uttering prayers. He could calm terrible storms by raising a hand to the sky. I mean, it just goes on. I'm not even. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. Works. I mean, if you look at the list of stuff he's written, it's absolutely unbelievable. He was just a guy. He was just the most amazing priest ever. He just got on with it.
Yeah.
And everything that he did, he hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was just no mucking about with this guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and everywhere he went, you read. So his name is Anthony Mary Claret, Claret.
I need to look up on that one.
Just an amazing guy, and I think I found out about him once again. I think it was from Father Z. Father Z comes just up with some amazing stuff.
He does. I've read his stuff from time to time. I haven't read his blog religiously, but yeah.
Yeah, he just comes up with really interesting stuff that you wouldn't normally hear about from the Catholic world. So there you go. Those are my
stream quality updated.
Those are my two favorites.
We might get rural internet again. Not sure I can type fast enough, but Saint Camillus de Lales was a drunkard and brawler who reformed and lived an exemplary life of service. Founded a hospital society. Oh, excellent. Woolly Ram says, on a more secular note, why do you think speaking, reading more than one language is so rare nowadays? Because people are lazy. And you got the internet and everybody speaks English or Chinese. So, you know, Woolly Rams, it seems at least in the classical era, most people used to 2 to 3 languages daily. But, you know, in Europe, until not too long ago, most people here now will speak a little bit of smattering of English or French or
most, because I lived in Holland for 4 years, most Dutchies I know can speak at least two, but sometimes three, or even my ex-wife could speak 4 languages.
Well, the thing here is also, what you consider a language, because every region of Italy has got a dialect.
Yeah.
And if people speaking in dialect here, I can't understand them. If they're speaking fast Emiliano-Romagnan dialect, I'll catch maybe half of the conversation.
Yeah.
And if you get a Venetian speaking Venetian dialect with a Sicilian speaking a Sicilian dialect, they can't understand each other.
Yeah. I speak Trentino dialect from the east side, so from the west side, but I'm now over in the far east side, and if I use that dialect on the guys, they don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, it's quite... Every Italian generally speaks at least 2 languages because the dialect, if you grow up with it, maybe if if you're born in a family of lawyers in Milan, then you might not have a dialect. But it's normal for most Italians to have the dialect and the Italian, and then have a smattering of French or English or Greek or something.
I think that the reason I originally came to Italy 23 years ago, year 2000, I was in Uganda, and it was next stop. I had a choice. I had a job offer in Norway, and I had a job offer in Italy. And everyone was like, "Oh, Norway, Norwegian chicks."
It's cold in Norway, dude.
Yeah, it's cold in Norway. It's cold in the Alps too, man, when you're after. But I decided I wanted to learn a language, a second language, because I wanted to see if I could do it. And so I was like, well, no one speaks fucking Norwegian.
No one nice, anyway.
Yeah, so I really threw myself into it. And we were having this conversation today because your wife's trying to learn Italian, and your way of learning languages is just to, absorb it through your anal passage.
No.
But for most people, because I've taught language for a long time here in Italy as well, you're teaching your brain to rationalize in a different way. As I said to your wife, when I speak Italian, I have Italian head. Yeah. When I speak Dutch, I have Dutch head. When you can dream in the languages that you're able to speak, that's when you've really got there. And the only way to do that is the way I came up with was 20 to 30 minutes of grammar study a day, which means writing this out, which means you need to understand your mother tongue grammar. If you don't understand what an adverb is in your mother tongue, how can you learn what an adverb is in another language?
See, I totally disagree with this, because the way I learn a language is like the way a kid learns a language. I learned Portuguese in like 2 weeks because I had to. And it's not that far from Italian, so, fair enough. But I've had full-on dreams, like complicated dreams in French. And my French is not that good. But in the dream, it's great.
How do you know that your French is great?
Because I can remember the dream, and it's like, I don't even know that I knew that word. I remember the conversation I had, and it's like, wow. And then like 2 hours later, it's
not
kind
everyone
of
can be an idiot savant like you.
Well, and again, like I like Russian people. I just haven't, I've had them in training, whatever. And I had like a couple of Russian girlfriends, to the point where even now that I haven't dealt with Russians for quite a while, if I'm put in a room with Russians and they're talking, I can't tell you what each word is. Sometimes I can't even tell you one word from the other, whether they're separated or one long word. But I'll know what they're talking about.
So you got the context.
I'll know the context of it, yeah. And if I stick around with Russians for a month, I'll get by. I'll be able to like have a I won't be able to talk about nuclear physics or whatever, but I'll be able to order food and do whatever, like banking or normal day-to-day stuff.
I was getting all right with Arabic by the time I left Saudi.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you didn't learn the grammar there, right?
No, I was learning the grammar. I actually took lessons at Leiden University in Arabic.
You're talking about idiot savants. I'm talking about just random autists.
The thing is that you've got to work out what... I mean, for me, for instance, music comes very easily to me. So if you give me a new musical instrument to learn, I can pick it up pretty quick. Yeah.
I'm ignorant, so I don't know anything about
languages.
Music.
I have to work a little bit. Music is a language, by the way.
Oh.
That's a language. Music theory. That's a complete language. How to read music. Yeah.
I had like a couple of lessons when I was in my teens about that, and I don't remember a damn thing about.
And there's a
notes.
big connection between musical theory and mathematics.
That I do
It's
know.
very mathematical. It
Yeah.
all has patterns.
Yeah.
It's all mathematical patterns. I think mathematics is a language, particularly stuff like once you start getting into oh my god, I've lost
Coding,
my
right?
brain. No, what do you learn in high school? Such a P. Oh, fuck, I can't remember. It's been so long since I studied math. But
Trigonometry, algebra,
no, what's the hard math thing? you do
Probability.
at high school. No,
statistics. No.
someone's going to get it for me. Starts with P, I think. Let's have a look at questions. It says, what did Arabic sound to you before you could understand like to you? I did a lot of work. It's so much easier to learn language these days compared to like when I tried to learn Italian. When I learned Italian back in 2000, 2001, because you can use so many programs that have the pronunciation. And there's YouTube videos, so you can hear the proper. So I would be reading the book. It's like, okay, how do I say this word? I don't know how to say this word. So it's really like, good morning in Arabic is sabah khair, and then you would answer sabah nur, yeah. Good afternoon, masa khair, masa nur. So you've got these pronunciations, and they're really in the back of your throat.
Yeah.
The Dutch is like that as well.
Yes.
Goedemorgen.
Orkish.
Ja, goedemorgen allemaal. How is it met jullie vandaag?
Yeah.
You got to
And then the Afrikaner is even more, because like goeiemorgen is different.
Yeah.
You know, the Dutch and Afrikaans, you can tell the difference. Actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Afrikaans is Dutch from 400 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a Dutch frozen in time.
The Dutch call Afrikaans baby Dutch.
Yeah. It never kept developing.
Well, no, you can't talk about physics in Afrikaans.
And interesting enough, like Italian immigrants that came out to Australia in the 50s, immigrants when they come to a country and they bring their culture with them, the culture they bring gets locked in time.
Yeah.
So Italy kept moving forward.
Yeah.
But for the Italian immigrants who came to Australia and obviously didn't have any contact or very sporadic contact, the year that they left Italy was Italy.
Yeah.
And so they go back to Italy like 40 years later and have
trouble. Yeah.
with the language.
Yeah.
Because the language had progressed. So.
Portuguese, like Brazilian Portuguese, is like, you know, I make fun of my daughter like when we talk about it because I'm like, it's a monkey language, you know. You've only got one word for like 50 things. So
what's the word?
Well, for example, gostoso. Gostoso in Portuguese means, it can mean, that's a nice tasting food.
Tasteful, yeah.
That's a pretty woman. That's like, oh, that's a very nice desk you've got there.
Oh,
it's like everything is gostoso.
That's the same word in Dutch as lekker.
Yeah, but if you
lekker.
Translate gustoso from the Latin, you can understand that word has to do with taste, like food taste. And I'm like, dude, you know, you can eat food, you kind of eat a woman, but you can't eat a desk. You know, like you guys have like some parameters.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's the same in Dutch though. It was a lekker trip.
Yeah,
you know, it was a lack of sunshine. What? This is lekker. It's lekker everything. I was just like, oh, I want to say it's lekker. Or loke. So it was just, there's always that. But those words are also good because once you get
in a way, it's simple. You know, it's a lot simpler.
And there's also the thinking words. So in Italian, allora.
Yeah.
Allora.
Yeah, which is...
hang on a second. Yeah.
Which is when you're trying to translate allora into English, it like becomes difficult.
Yeah.
Because like people are saying, well, what does that mean?
And the Dutch version is zo.
Yeah,
zo.
Yeah,
zo. They always say, they walk into a room, so, and it's like, how about this?
Yeah.
You know?
But in English, I suppose allora would be translated as so.
Yeah. But it doesn't really...
So, what are we doing today?
Yeah, in that context, allora cosa facciamo oggi?
Or you can say, ma allora sei una testa di cazzo.
Yeah.
So you're a dickhead.
No, tu sei testa di cazzo. All right. I can do computer languages. Some might say not even that. Okay, not your clients, hopefully, there, Joe. I've noticed here that older Arabs, especially from the West Bank, sound almost musical. Oh, okay.
They do.
All right. So Arabic from Morocco, and then Libya, and then Egypt, and then you've got Saudi Arabia. Then you go north up into Jordan. Every one of those regions, the Arabic's different.
Yeah. When I went to Egypt, I found that the Arabic can be quite musical. It can be quite
absolutely.
Flows.
Yeah.
Kind of like, again, Brazilian Portuguese is quite musical. Portuguese is not.
Right.
It's quite well. So yeah.
Yeah, there's some big regional differences, and when you study, and then there's Arabic, the Quran, so that's like classical Arabic.
Yeah.
Which they all have to learn in school. I was learning to write it when I went and did I studied at Leiden University. I did a one-on-one course for like 20 lessons as preparation to go down there, because I really was like, I want to understand what the fuckers are saying. And it's always good. And the teacher, she was really good. She was Egyptian, but she, right from the beginning, she was like, well, you've got to learn how to write it. And I was like, well, I just want to learn how to say it. And she's like, yeah, well, you need to visualize the words. And she was right, you know. Yeah. And but it's not hard.
It isn't actually.
It's
I've dabbled very briefly in it, but I actually the writing of Arabic is quite beautiful.
Yeah,
I find it. Quite,
It's a bit weird that you go. That way.
Yeah.
You know.
That is.
But I was getting it, you know, and they've got, you know, it's like, I think we've got what have we got, 26 letters in our alphabet. I think they've got 28 or 29, something like that. There were a few ones that were really hard to pronounce. Like there's 3 different H's.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, getting the difference. I ended up having, this is the soft, sexy H.
Yeah.
This is the and this is the he. You know, and if you say it with the wrong, it could be like saying the difference between table and pussy.
Yeah.
Don't fuck that up.
No, but that's what the next thing I was going to say. That like each language has got the pronunciation of certain vowels and combination of vowels and consonants. Like in Russian, you've got like I and A and IA and Y and U. They've got like 20 different sounds, which to us all sounds like Anastasia is Anastasia. They say no, Anastasia, or like it's like
Arabic's the same. Arabic's the same. That's the nice thing about Italian. Italian, I think, is probably
very clear.
It's the easiest language to pronounce in the world, because you say it as it's written.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Just a couple of things like CI is chi and CE is K.
Yeah.
You know, but once you get those couple of little things down,
it's as it's written. Yeah. But you know, most languages are pronounced as it's written. It's only the English that's
English is tough. Like try to get a non-native English speaker to pronounce laugh from Laugh.
Oh, never mind that. Worcester. Worcestershire. Yeah. It's
Worcester.
Like, what the fuck? What is? You guys messed up half the damn name.
Yeah. Or the guy who's in charge of a small boat, a coxswain. It's written coxswain. Coxswain.
No, there's in English. There's sort of like when I was hitchhiking. When I was 16 years old, I hitchhiked through most of England with my friend, and we're like, "Where are you guys going?" We're going to Worcestershire, and they're like, "You're going where? I never heard of that. But is it near here?" It's like, "Yeah, look, you know, we're here on the map." It's like, "Oh, Worcester." I'm like, "What? Okay, read, dude. There's like a bunch of letters you just missed out." And you're like, "No, that's how we say it." I'm like, "Why?" And like, "Hey, we don't know. That's just how you say it." But English people miss out fucking bunches of stuff. Oh, wait, we had a few more.
Kurgan is one of the best saxophone players ever alive, as we all know. Okay.
Good man.
Good man.
A man of taste.
And so it came to pass as one word in Hebrew. Okay.
Oh.
I didn't know that one. I spent a week on Duolingo trying to learn Russian. A week trying to learn Russian. Oh, good luck with that.
I can read a little bit, but not speak it.
Yeah.
Humans can't make those sounds.
We were talking yesterday about Ukrainians are like a cross between the worst elements of Poles and Russians.
That's
it, right?
That was his description. I thought it was spot on. You know, they banned one of my videos. You can only find it on BitChute, number 114, because I described the different nations in the world. I got striked, so I put it on BitChute. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I will do a follow-up to that one.
Okay.
Sam, just take a few ice baths, drink vodka, and befriend the bear. You will speak Russian in no time. Actually, the guy that used to train me was Latvian, but he spoke Russian, like the old Soviet Union or whatever. And I said, he said, no, but you speak Russian. I'm like, no, I don't, dude. I speak like 5 words. Although, when I went to Africa, like my dad had a problem with his computer. It was like and it was Kaspersky or whatever, however you pronounce it, the like
The
virus
antivirus.
protection thing. And he had a problem with it. He said, oh, look, they've got a phone number. So I'm like, yeah, dude, this is a Russian phone number. So, well, can you go? So I called him up. And, just enough Russian that I could get by. On the phone, it's hard because you can't, like... And I told the guy, look, dude, I'm sorry, I don't speak any Russian. Like, can you put me through to somebody who speaks English? And, like, my dad and my brother was like... They were just looking at me like, what the fuck's he saying down the phone? And my brother, like, I think he's talking Russian because it's, Kaspersky is Russian. My dad goes, what? While I'm having this conversation with the guy who eventually like says, yeah, no, okay, I get it. I don't speak English, but let me find somebody who can, So while that was going on, and like my brother,
So he wasn't an Indian dude.
No, he was
yes,
Russian.
Yeah. Are you very, very happy here at Kaspersky Support to help you, my good friend?
Full on Russian.
Oh yes.
So my brother goes like, my dad's like, does your brother speak Russian? When did you learn to speak Russian? I was like, I don't fucking know. You learn shit quickly. But like, it was just enough to get me by. And so my friend was saying, you speak enough, you can get by. I was like, dude, I can like maybe order food or whatever, talk to a girl, but that's it, Then he was like, no, Giuseppe, I'm telling you, I work in Soviet Union military. You could be general in Soviet Union, no problem. As long as you can have the word for male sexual organ, female sexual organ, and how to put one into the other. You could have all conversations to do with any military operation. It's like, okay.
That's a good Russian accent, by the way. That's a very good Russian accent.
I'm pretty good with like I used to be able to do like a pretty mean Swedish one. Or the Indian ones are easy.
Yeah. Oh yes, my friend. Oh, I'm very sad today.
Yeah.
Oh, today is a terrible day for me, good sir. Oh, you will not believe the troubles I am having. Oh my God, it is terrible.
That's like sounds like a Rouge phone call he got. Which I know the guy who made that phone call.
Oh really?
I do, yeah. It's funny.
Oh, dear.
Let's see. Yeah, Josie says, I used to be okay in French, but my pronunciation was horrifying. Only the French can really, because also French moves as a language quite a lot. So the actual spoken French the French in France is...
I tell you what though, it's very close to Italian. Like there's a lot of Italian words in French.
French is pretty easy for me, but what they teach you in school has got very little to do with what they actually speak in France.
Yeah. But that's always the case.
Yeah. Forecastle is another good one. English word which is pronounced differently. Okay, so I probably did it wrong. Speaking of bears, any explanation for why Russians are so friendly with bears? Well, there's a lot of them there.
I think it's more that the Russian bears, the type of bear that's in Russia, is more friendly. They seem just to be like cool bears. Have you seen the one where
the guy's training,
the guy's training, and the bears bouncing in the background, and even the 2 huge Russian guys at the end can't keep their shit together.
Actually, what I think is that any animal, pretty much any wild animal that you can raise from when they're little, you can become friends with. I mean, I had lions in my house. I walked into a cage of lions that I didn't know, that I didn't raise, purely because the guy that had the lion farm, he used to give us the little lions when they were small, because the males killed them otherwise. And then we'd raise them until they were like big enough to like chase down our dog, hunt it down, scratch my sister, whatever. And then we gave them back, and then they grew up into big lions. And I hadn't seen the guy for like maybe 10 years. I just got married to my first wife, and I thought, hey, Jimmy, how are you doing? And he goes, dude. And he was feeding the lions. He was in the cage, and, the people watching. And he goes, hey, how you been? He goes, no, come in. And I didn't even think about it. I was like, yeah, cool, I'll come in. I'll help you feed the lions. But I don't know these lions. I never played with them. I never raised them. So I walk in, and I'm helping him out. And one of the lions just wants to play, but like 250 kilo. And it's like, and just, he just goes like that with his paw and like catches both my legs. And like, I flew down. As soon as I fell down, the other lion like, fuck, he's a sandwich. He's not human. And he just like, doom, doom, doom starts to come towards me, and I quickly, thank God I knew lines. So like, I stood up and like, hey, and I wasn't scared. I was like, don't you dare try and like eat me, And then I was like, oh, okay. But then the owner realized, oh fuck, I forgot this guy doesn't know these lines. Like, yeah, I think it's better if we just like leave now. Because
did you go back and lines that you had raised recognised you after 10 years sort of stuff?
I don't remember that I did that myself. I know my dad certainly did, and my sister did. There was one that we kept her until she was pretty big. And my sister had a little scar from it because, like, playing, they're like cat, they're like little dogs. And she definitely recognized. But again, my dad, he went in the lion cage with because it's Melanie, we know that lion, with my sister, like, who was like 9 or something. And then it's like, no, they're playing a bit rough. I'm like, oh, Christ, me, like punched one in the head, don't stop being rough. Punched one in the nose, and then like got back out because no, this kid's a bit small, they're a bit rough. And then like Jimmy, the owner, came back and said, but listen, my wife told me you went in with the cage of the lions with your kid. Because yeah, but it's our lions. They know us. It's Melanie and Bob and whatever their name. Because dude, I haven't been in that cage in 6 months. Like, and that was the owner. It's like, you're fucking crazy. Like, this is a real. That's why my dad's book is awesome. Like, Life and Death in Africa. And he's got the same name as me, but he's got stories like that throughout the book, and they're all real. They all happen. Yeah. So
when I wrote my African stories in my book, I had to tone them down.
Oh yeah, a lot of them you can't tell the whole
story. You can't tell how it really went down because no one will believe you.
Not just that, in some cases you would probably be done for a crime, or somebody else would be. Or,
I did tone a couple of those ones down too.
Yeah.
There was a couple of real racially aware moments that I thought it would be better.
The diversity was explored in its fullest.
Not to put in the book, because I'm not racist. I'm racially aware.
That's a new one.
I've been using that for a long time. We're not racist. We're racially aware. There's a difference. Yeah.
I've had plenty of moments where you become fully aware of the joy of diversity in all its facets. In many countries.
After being in Africa, I saw that film Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio. And he and I are about the same size.
Yeah.
I think he's a bit smaller than
me. Oh, is he? Because they make him look big on the screen, don't they?
But the way that he portrayed the character in that film, whoever was his advisor.
Oh, they had South African guys from Executive Outcomes advising.
Knew exactly what was going on. Because what he did in the film was exactly what I did in Africa. So you would, and in the film what he does is he'll be really calm, and then he'll just flick a switch, and he'll be fucking intense in the African's face, and then 10 seconds later, he'll flick the switch again and be completely calm and it just freaks them the fuck out. Yeah. That's exactly what we did.
Crazy white dude.
Yeah, it's exactly what we did. It's exactly what we did. And you just learnt that. We had, for new rafting guides who would turn up, it was a 2-week trial. Either you got it,
or you didn't.
Or you didn't. And if you didn't, we didn't need to convince you to get on the plane. To get out of there. You were already. Yeah. And really interestingly enough, it was the really big mountain, tough guys back in the first world who couldn't handle it.
Because those guys never really get tested. Yeah. That's, while a little guy gets tested all day, every day. Yeah. No, but Africa's an interesting place. I like it. I've enjoyed my time in Africa, and I still go, we go there or whatever. It's, current situation is different, but my brother's still out there, my dad's still out there, most of my family's out there.
Where are they? In South Africa?
Yeah. No, my dad's in Botswana, my brother's in South Africa. Cool. Yeah. Botswana's nice. But my brother's not a couple of years younger than I am, and he's still doing some pretty hectic kind of work, which is, I should stop doing that. He's got a kid and that, but it is life. Whatever. Everybody's got their road, right? Yeah. He's good at it and that, so that's good. So to get back about the bears, I think, is just like, bears are there. People will get friendly with a bear. They raise it from when it's small, and bears are probably pretty cool animals, like any animal. If you take it from when they're small, mammals I'm talking about.
These videos that we see of Russians, I think these are random bears who just popped out of the forest. You know?
No, I doubt that. I
You
don't.
think they're trained bears?
Yeah, they definitely train. Bears were trained as
No,
well.
I know that you can train bears, but I'm just...
No, but the Russians have a long history of training bears.
Yeah.
I think, I don't want to lie, but I think they might have even trained them to do things like hunting and fighting or something. I know they have like bear fighting bear, like kind of like, you know, the dog
The Russians, the Soviets had a good one in World War II, they would train dogs. They would strap mines to dogs.
Yeah, and try to train them to run under the
tanks. Yeah, which is pretty nasty.
Brutal, yeah. That Russian way of doing things is pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Forecastle, that's the fancy bit on a ship of the line, right?
Oh, they were talking about pronunciation, I think.
Oh,
It's
yeah, still
pronounced-
going on.
It's the faux
Backstabber,
castle,
hello
faux castle,
Backstabber.
I think. Faux castle, something like that.
It's been a while, how you doing? Nothing much. Just gone on a vacation to visit a friend.
So how long?
Going again on a weekend to Scotland.
We've been going a few hours now.
Oh, we've been going a long time. We've been going an hour and a half, so we can say goodnight to these good people. Because, you know, he's an early riser and an early to bed kind of guy. I'm the opposite, so try not to drink too much whiskey.
I wish. I
was
was
talking to Backstab. I was going to Scotland.
I was gonna bring a bottle of whiskey down with me, but I figured that you'd have whiskey here.
I'm not a whiskey guy.
Okay,
I'm a
so
tequila guy.
I noticed that. Yes, when we got the margarita at the
Yeah.
restaurant yesterday.
Tequila, vodka, whiskey has never been my thing.
Never been your thing.
No.
Okay.
But you're Scots, so makes sense.
Yeah. So someone's going to Scotland, are they?
Yeah, Backstabber. Backstabber is
Weekend to
actually
Scotland. All right.
he's the guy I told you about. He's looking to move here, possibly.
Oh, okay.
So,
Cool. Well, Scotland's awesome. I love it. I've been there a bunch of times. I got married in Edinburgh, so yeah.
So was your ex-wife Scottish?
You sound actually. No, my grandmother had died that year, and she was from Scotland.
Ooh.
So we thought she couldn't be at the
Good.
wedding. So
Yeah.
we thought, let's kind of like do something to
today.
acknowledge her.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we got married at the castle. Secular marriage though. Right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
Oh, well.
It wasn't in the chapel at the castle. It was in the registration office.
My first two were like that. So
Yeah. Well, you know. Anyway, been a lot of fun. Thanks
it has.
for
Thank
thanks for
you.
doing the stream. Man.
thank you for coming
Thanks
all the
for
way
all
out
the
here.
people,
It's,
all the people here tonight. I hope that I said something that was interesting.
Oh, you do. I mean, these guys are easily pleased to listen to me for hours on end.
Well, I know.
this is a treat.
I've been stuck with you for 2 days. It's been horrific. It's been horrific. Help me.
On that happy
Help
note,
me.
good night all.